sex outside of marriage
Different.
is so different from sex inside marriage. You know, there are two sides of the coin. On one side is love, the other side is lust. You cannot love the one you lust for. You cannot lust for the one you love.
Define it. For us, even at times, we write some of those things down. I mean, sometimes from a conflict, you pick lessons, and sometimes conflicts comes from someone feeling disrespected.
Oh dear.
Breathe in, breathe out. The heart of communication is not to make demands.
Yeah.
The heart of communication is to be understood.
Yes. And no one understands that until you're a bride.
Talk to your girl. You know, sometimes we have fights towards the wedding that we should never have. You know, I've now one of the most famous questions is, you know, these are the 5 activities. You have reception, you have a church service, you have kuchala, you have introduction, you have honeymoon. Prioritize.
If Paul needed you to kneel down for him while feeding him while serving him his serving him his food, would you do it? I have a groom,
Yes.
or I'm a groom
Yes.
to be. How would you advise a groom to be? What are those tips that a guy who is going to get, meet his wife as she walks down the aisle? What are those tips that he needs to know? Whether after the wedding day or
Yes.
for the wedding day.
Yes.
Because a groom to be has so many questions. What am I going to do after the wedding?
Yes.
How should I hold this woman? Do we consummate the marriage the night before? Do we?
Those are our biggest questions.
How do I even start?
Yes.
How do I talk to her? Must she?
Yeah. Grooms to be. Honestly, it kind of gets my memory back to the many guys I've worked with, and I don't know if I take it nowadays as people call me a best man for hire. There are moments in life that are so important, and they help us with shaping up. I nowadays sometimes call it the last time you have to get a boy become a man in a short time. Because I've discovered you get into people's worlds, and people's worlds are different. You can get to see the challenges of the family. You get to see the challenges of whatever is going on. There's so much you get to interact with. Many times I have to cut new frames for each groom because every family is unique and different, So some families which look so nice and well packaged, when you get in and you're like,
Oh dear.
Breathe in, breathe out. This is so when you're dealing with someone at the last moment of their getting married, there is a lot of work there. So there's a lot of thinking and asking themselves questions, because someone has to become someone not responsible. You deal with the last born, and they're assuming the bigger brothers will take care of the wedding, and then you discover the bigger brothers don't keep their word. So you're trying to help someone appreciate the fact that this is your marriage. You're taking charge. You are a man. But when it comes to also a few key things around the marriage bed, I keep telling. The first thing I tell you is to work through your priorities. Talk to your girl. Sometimes we have fights towards the wedding that we should never have. I've now one of the most famous questions is, these are the 5 activities. You have reception, you have a church service, you have kuchala, you have introduction, you have honeymoon. Prioritize them. First start with priorities. At that point, what can't you do without? Then after that, we go to the famous reception, which the thing that makes us have sleepless nights. Or some of us, on my own wedding, I didn't feel like attending the reception. I was so tired. And I'm like, So we go into that and ask your lady, which are the 2 most important things, the non-negotiables. You know, some people you find it's decor, photography, others it's cake and food. So when you have that, you have room to negotiate, because the time comes when you don't have enough money around, you know, what you're planning for, and you have to be idealistic, and then you have to be realistic, you know, so you're dealing with all these worlds clashing at the same time. So it teaches you to negotiate, teaches you to learn to, you know, how are you going to lead your family without the debts? Are you going to run your family into debt to impress people who don't care? Because as soon as we've come for your wedding, we go back to our homes and you're like, Mommy, she was smart. And that is all. Next week we are back to
People
work.
will even say the food was not nice.
It was-
Yes, you got
yes.
a date for that food.
I know. And the funny thing, we won't even remember your decor.
True.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, but for the marriage bed, one of the things we're learning and training people in is you know, prepare yourself. No guy, there's this presumption that men know what to do. You know, who taught you them?
Yeah.
Where did they go to
Where
learn?
did they learn?
Yes, where did they learn these things,
Yeah.
you know? So there are few men who realize that, hey, I don't know much, I need to learn. I need to work with someone, I choose a best man or a counselor or mentors around that I'm working with, and I confide in them, you know, because without that, where are you going to learn from when you're stuck? Then I get books to read. I get there's so many marital podcasts, very good websites that you can learn from. So prepare yourself, learn as much as you can, because many people think they know, they have watched movies and they assume, I know what to do. Well, get there, we shall be watching. With the married men, we'll be watching when you come back, you know, because we know it's not as obvious, you know. And if I've never forgotten a story of a friend of mine who married this guy who had slept around, so they did not go through counseling. And they assume because he has been sleeping around,
He has experience.
he has experience, he knows what to do.
He's been practicing.
When I looked at that girl when she was telling me a honeymoon story, like, Paul, that guy was so impatient with me. I slept in the toilet the last night. You know, it was actually part of the reason we began what they call Courtship sessions, preparing our grooms. We've seen so many misfires because people don't realize sex outside of marriage is so different from sex inside marriage. You know, there are two sides of the coin. On one side is love, the other side is lust. You cannot love the one you lust for. You cannot lust for the one you love. So people think they can use their knowledge from the world of lust in the world of love, and they get shocked, totally get shocked. So prepare yourself, please plan for a honeymoon. There is nothing like a great honeymoon. It will give you memories, it will fill your banks, especially when you're very thoughtful as a guy. You know, be very thoughtful around your girl. If your girl is adventurous, and doesn't have to be expensive. I don't know why people get this thing that every good thing has to go with money. You know, it's about thoughtfulness. If your girl is quiet, reflective, go to a quiet and reflective place. You don't plan around her. It's about her. You're building your bank that will carry you through, you know, your tough first years of marriage. So that's a bit of advice I'll give you as you jump in.
So Irene, how would you advise a bride to be? A lot of times, the most definite or the most evident thing that we see is emotions. What else? How would you advise a bride to be?
But also many brides are looking at a wedding. How am I going to look? My gown, my makeup artist. What tips would you give a bride to be?
Yeah, so as a bride to be, and I think also lessons learned from my journey being a bride is mainly managing yourself and especially your heart, because it's a time when you feel it's very critical for you. So sometimes you feel like because you're feeling and a lot of attention is on you actually from many angles. People are looking at you. So in your heart and in your mind, sometimes you get to start expecting so much from them, or thinking that because I am going through this, everyone should understand and carry my load. People should give of their time, of their money. Guys should understand in detail what I need, you know. I need a great cake looking like this, the one I've dreamed of. My gown should be out of this world, and it should be, come at the price at which I had budgeted.
I've been there for all these other brides. They also need to be there for
they
me.
need to be there
There's
for
a lot
you.
of
So there's a
expectation.
lot of work in your heart and in your mind that you don't get to speak out, but now those around you get to see it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when your expectations are not met, you kind of become bitter. You start acting out, you shut doors at people. Brides who
Brides,
kind
yeah.
of like just shut out and first
Yeah.
cry the
Cry.
morning of their
Yes.
wedding.
Yeah.
It's like you're dealing with so much, and no one understands that until you're a bride. So for a bride, there's so much preparation that you'll do, that the singers will take you through and all that, but no one prepares you for what is going on in your heart at that time. So for me, what I would advise is just find some time for yourself. Like at the end of the day, maybe sit back in your bed somewhere, give yourself 30 minutes to just reflect on how am I feeling, and commit those feelings to God. Commit those examine how you feel, and give it to God, because people are not going to meet what you really, really want, and it might not. Sometimes it turns out perfectly at your wedding, but there is that one thing that might, go wrong, and it might tip you off if you've not guarded your heart. So the greatest preparation that you can make is heart preparation.
Yes. And don't take in don't become too personal with the disappointment, with
Yes.
who gives you and who doesn't give you. Because there are people who gave us that who are never in their worlds. Someone just calls you. I remember that 20,000, that 40,000 from
Yes.
people you've not even invested at all.
Yeah.
So learn to manage yourself. You don't know what people are going through.
Yeah.
The ones who gave you might have been nursing a sick mom, might have been nursing a sick child. So just manage yourself. People love you. Get
Yeah.
married and do your marriage well. We shall be happy.
love you.
Yeah. I like that you say that, manage your emotions and manage your expectations, because sometimes we put expectations on people, and from the wedding, that relationship is ruined because someone didn't meet your expectations. Yeah, and I also like that you touched on having courtship sessions, because every time we have bridal showers, people are always asking, but who is talking to the men? Who is talking to the husbands?
Yes.
So it's important for the men to surround themselves with like-minded men that share your values, to pour into you, teach you the things that you think you know, because we think that we know about sex because we've watched movies, but
It's a big lie.
it's a big lie.
Yes.
And then now I want to ask another question. So you've gone through the wedding, you're ready, you're prepared, and you get home. Maybe your husband was brought up in a home where he served, the person that serves him kneels.
Yes.
And in your home, your mother never knelt. So now you serve him food and he thinks, my wife doesn't respect me. And it becomes such a big fight. So I realized, even in our own marriage, that respect looked differently for the both of us.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember yesterday, actually, we were with a group of other married people, and one of the men said, somebody texted him and asked him, what do women want? In caps.
Yeah.
So I quickly thought, this guy must be having that issue of respect. Like that's one thing which disturbs all of us married men.
Yes.
And how do we deal with this issue? Because as much as we complain to our wives, it doesn't seem to be understood.
Yeah.
So respect as a couple, as a
As
person.
individuals. Yes. Earlier we spoke about the foundation of a house, of a marital house, is truth and commitment. The two walls of that house, one is love
and respect.
the other is respect. And respect is not just a marital need. Boys generally, I mean, they even tell us as parents, when you're disciplining your children, you have to do it respectfully. You don't just call out your child and assure them before other kids. Many times you need to build a system even of parenting around the children. So it's so inbuilt within us guys, and we find that it comes, a guy will look for it. Part of the reason some young boys, even all the way from high school, sleep around is they're trying to find respect. When it comes to I slept with the other girl and the other girl,
they're
is
like, hey.
the definition is attached to a form of respect, though albeit in a wrong way. So respect is so core to a man. I was saying earlier that in the first 3 years of marriage, you kind of think your biggest need is sex. It still remains a need
to an extent.
It is we went through that time, and all we'll talk about is that. But after that, you're like, hey, if I'm not respected, sometimes even in the sex you're looking for respect.
Respect, Why not? Why not today?
Yes.
No, like after she's like, you're the man.
There's that too.
Yes, and you know how girls actually get guys out into affairs?
Yes.
Little signs of respect.
Yeah.
So respect is core to a man, and it's, if we do it the right way, the influence in community, the influence in society means a lot to a man. So that's why a man will work himself out, sometimes become too busy just trying to get respected. So it is core, but the key thing in a marriage is to define what it means to you. When we first got married, Irene is an Acholi and I'm a Muganda, and we Bagandas are nice. Our biggest problem is sometimes we can be nice on the surface, and we shoot you slowly. When you're away, we speak about you, but we know how to be sweet and nice. My friend, and I'll not say this about the tribe because I only know the experience of my friend. Yes, can be loud, loud, happy, and loud and happy. So I remember those times the first fight we had in our marriage after a beautiful 2 weeks honeymoon. We're rushing for a wedding, and I am rushing Irene. I am rushing her. We are late. She delayed at home. In my world, there's been no woman delaying me. Here is one delaying me at home. So we are rushing. We don't have a car. We're walking on Kampala Road. I am rushing her. She's in high heeled. She shouted at me on Kampala Road. We met someone who had helped us with the wedding. And, my God. Are you guys okay? Yes, we are. But I felt so disrespected. I felt so angry. And then I think one of the core things is to notice when you feel the disrespect. What causes you to feel the disrespect? So I began to realize in my upbringing, in my nature, in my culture, disrespect means being shouted at as a man. Disrespect means being shut out. When I'm sharing my dreams and you just blanket shut them, that is disrespect to me. So learning that and defining it, one day I'll tell you about where the story of shouting ended.
Can't wait for that.
Yes, but we learned slowly to speak to each other. So I don't provoke my wife in public. I don't know what you'll get. I don't know what I'll get, And people may not understand that for us, we know that, when we talk loudly, it doesn't mean we're disrespecting. I don't want to explain all of that. So we've learned over time, how to manage ourselves in that level. And also, the other thing about a guy and respect is to work out your vision, your plan as a person to keep growing, because there's this respect that comes from what you're feeling because of your situation. So the earlier you agree, because is respect attached to finances? So what happens when you're bringing in less and she's bringing in more? So where do you get your value from? So there are many questions in there as a guy you need to work on, because I have learned my wife is a go-getter, my wife is a hard worker, my wife is going places. I'm not going to sit back. She's gone for masters and I have the capacity. We went for the masters together. So you keep pushing yourself to a place where you're not stuck in corners and feeling sorry for yourself. So you need to know what makes you feel respected, what gives you that sense of influence, which we really many times define as respect, and work through the internal things in your marriage and the external things as a man, so that you are still valuable. Whether she brings more money than you, you still know I have value, I am on a path, I'm going somewhere. You don't make it a fight. That's what I would say for now.
Okay, so let me just get you clearly. Are you saying that in order for you to get or to have that respect, you need to be able to respect yourself.
That's true. That is true.
One.
You must, one is define what it means to you and take responsibility
Yeah.
for what you must do.
Yeah.
Because it's very hard to respect a man who
doesn't
comes
respect
home and behaves like a
themselves.
little boy.
Yeah.
He's always on the PlayStation. When you talk
Yeah.
about what schools are the kids going, do the research.
Wherever.
When you're going out, it's so hard. So
Yeah.
there is a sense in which there's a woman is not going to just respect you because you're a man. Even you can bring money home and you're not respected. So you must work through your part as you allow her, more naturally to respect, because she saw you with the dreams, the potential. By the time she fell for you, she fell for someone going somewhere. What happened to your journey? What happened to your dreams? What happened to the man she fell for? So there's the demanding for it, because it's a need, so we demand for it, but the best thing is to deserve it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Be respectable.
Yes.
I think that's the word, being respectable.
Yeah.
Irene, you as a naturally woman, being married to a Mganda, now they're telling you don't respect me. How did you work through? First of all, how did you work through that?
Yeah.
Because it's very easy for you to be offended once they told you you're not a respectful woman. How did you work through that? And then how did you find your balance? Because I believe it involves a lot of dying to self. Like sometimes you just want to say something, but you're just like, God, hold my lips.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, in our marriage journey, I think it was a time of learning my husband and how what I do or do not do makes him feel either respected or not respected. I think for us in our marriage journey, it's been a season of Paul defining what he needs and what he expects, because sometimes
Didn't you actually begin before we got married? Like the example you used of serving food, and said, Paul,
yes.
I'll be cooking the food and putting it on the dining.
Yes.
Like you serve for yourself. I remember those
Yeah.
conversations in courtship. They serve you a lot.
Yes,
Sorry,
actually,
interrupted.
Yes, actually, in courtship,
like
even
that.
as we were preparing for marriage, I just needed to know, what do you need and what do you expect? Actually, what do you want? What, because want is unnegotiable.
Different.
Need is maybe not so negotiable.
Yeah.
Yes, and what do you expect?
Yeah.
Because sometimes the fights of respect or not being respected are along those lines
Yeah,
of
you
someone
haven't
has not really
communicated.
defined what they really
Yeah.
want you to
Yes.
do.
Yeah.
So I need it defined so that I can prepare myself, and also you prepare yourself for what to do when I can't meet it. And then there you manage
Your expectations.
yourself, I remember I had to ask Paul, what is it about my voice that you find disrespectful? Is it? And he told me, that tone. Because for me, I was like, I am loud. I mean, even now I think I'm a bit loud. You get? Many times I don't need a mic to speak. So for me, I am loud. So when I need something, I will call you from one room and be like, help me bring that, And if that makes you feel disrespected, tell me. Yeah. So I mean, if the tone, I don't know if I can tone down, I will try.
Tone is key, by the way.
We're still dealing with tone up to
Yes.
now. 14 years later. Yeah, so I've learned to raise my tone. She can't bring us down.
Yeah, so
So that's a
keep
tip
it-
for me.
Yeah, also the other thing I've also learned along the journey is, even from the time we're dating, sometimes when Paul would kind of give you I would ask him, so are you in your dreaming box, or you want a comment from, because some things he would say would like kind of tick you off in the negative of, like, maybe he's dreaming so big and you're like, you want to shoot it from the beginning.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yes.
don't take us along. That journey you get. And the guys dream. Sometimes they're like, man, going to get that car and what? And you're thinking, well, the basic need here is rent, saving for the kids' school fees and what. So the way you communicate that can make him feel,
Either make or break.
yes, it can make or break him. And sometimes guys just want to dream. I mean, for us as ladies, sometimes we think so much into the future and how to secure it.
Yes.
And a guy is just dreaming in the moment. So you can shoot his dreams and make him feel so disrespected. So I think for me,
And that's important for us.
yes, that's important. As in, kind of like walking with him through the dreams. But me, I would want to understand, are we the dreaming folks? We are making decisions here because sometimes he starts making decisions as he's dreaming.
That's true.
Define it. For us, even at times, we write some of those things down. I mean, sometimes from a conflict, you pick lessons, and sometimes conflicts comes from someone feeling disrespected.
Yeah.
So you need to learn from them and pick a leaf of,
Yes.
what led us down
To
this
that
path.
place without
You
over
get-
promising.
Yes.
Because sometimes you can over promise,
And underdeliver.
underdeliver. So
Okay. So, which means there's what do you need, what do you expect,
And what do you want?
what do you want?
yes,
So
and
those-
what realistically can I give
Possible.
to you?
Yes.
Because I can expect a level of respect that you've spent 30 years before you met me. That's what you've been. You've not been serving someone food and kneeling, so don't expect me to change overnight.
Yeah.
So understanding realistic expectations or negotiating is a skill you must have in a marriage.
Find middle ground.
Okay, as we close, Irene, this is just a side question. If Paul needed you to kneel down for him while feeding him while
Serving, not
him
feeding
his
him.
serving him his food, would you do it?
I would have married a Muganda.
I think Paul knows the answer. I would not, because
I mean, say he feels not respect. He doesn't feel respected. This is a hypothetical. He
Yes.
doesn't feel respected
Yes.
when you don't. That is his need, and that's what he wants.
I
And
think
you will always have tension. He will have a moody day if you don't do
I
that.
think you're touching a very important part, hypothetically.
Yes.
The important part here is the heart of communication is not to make demands.
Yeah.
The heart of communication is to be understood.
yes,
And remember, you're a team. You're a team together. So you're not trying to drive each other mad. Naturally, Daisy loves Mark.
Yes.
Mark loves Daisy. They want the best for each other.
Yes.
So that's where the conversation of realism comes in. Because it's not, I cannot give you everything you want.
Yes.
And you should be whole enough to live even if I was not in your world, so there is a bit of that, so these moments, when you hit those moments, let the non-negotiables be around values,
yes,
not around practices.
yes.
I mean, when before I got married to Irene, I told her, Irene, my family, because I was also protecting her from my family. I told her, my family, you don't kneel for my mothers. They are going to see you this way. So every time she would come into that environment, I number one, I minimized those times because I was protecting her. And so when she would come in, she would kneel. Kneel for mommy, of course, Baganda, no matter whether it's
And
a
kneel
hard
also
ground.
for him in
Not
their
in
presence.
In their presence.
Yes.
That's a debatable one. But but the earlier, we discussed those things early, because I told her Buganda kneeling means respect. So you will win many marks. Nowadays, she doesn't really get to even kneel because before she goes down, they are hugging, So it's a totally different scenario. Yeah. So if you set those things early, the easier for you. Back to your question. It was your question.
I think they answered
Yes,
it.
I wouldn't.
No.
It's a non-
No, there are things we actually
It's
talked
not a
about
need. Yeah.
before, and at least for that one, we defined it. There are
Yes.
even things as basic as, I don't know if I can say this on camera, but someone expects that you will wash their socks, wash their underwear, I don't know, some
And there are
people think
those.
that,
Yeah.
yes,
There are
yes.
those.
And for us, we discussed it. We said, what do you need me to do? And okay, that I might not be able.
When maybe I wouldn't want to miss this. Courtship is what we normally call wet cement. The things you write in wet cement stick.
Yeah.
Now, when you get married, it's what we call hard ground. To get anything
Things
in,
are stuck.
it is chiseled in with a hammer. You know, so use your courtship to save yourself from the common fights.
Yeah.
Why should you fight about socks? I mean, why should you fight about toothpaste? Thank God we have good toothpaste now. There's not the metallic one. But I'm saying, why should you fight about some smokes? Who serves who food? You know, who lays the bed? There are many things you can bundle up in the courtship period. So when you get there, your mind's already set. So you're focusing on serious things. Not both small, tiny things, which always cause that trouble.
So for all the dating couples, don't just have surface conversations. The
Dig
dating
in.
season is a time for you
Deep
to
stuff.
dig in, have these conversations. You don't need to have these conversations when you're fighting already in marriage.
The guy wants color, you don't know how to mingle.
No, you can learn.
You can
Actually,
learn.
that's a
That's a good
negotiable.
conversation in courtship.
Yeah.
You can learn. There are so many
Yes.
things actually you can learn.
Yes.
You also need to examine, like Paul said,
Yes.
you love each other, so you'd want to serve each other. Let's not
Give
even
each other the best.
confuse respect and defining what you want and need as not having that desire and will to serve each other. We want to serve each other, but there are things that I think we can compromise for, depending on the time, the cultural context, and that is what we need to define.
I feel like for the next 3 weeks, we're not going to have problems in our marriage.
That's
Like,
wishful thinking,
we've
babe.
really been refreshed.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
I feel like
Yeah.
whenever we sit down with you guys, it's like we are meant to be. You are the one.
You never doubted that. You doubted.
Anyway, that is a discussion for another day. We can't answer that question in presence of these guys. we'll answer that just the two of us. And if you've watched until this point, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe, like the video, share with a friend who is on this journey, who is married and who is planning to find a girl. This video is for everybody. And thanks Paul and Irene for walking this journey with us. It means a lot to us that we can actually have a fallback couple in case of anything.
Thank you
I
for
don't know
having
that
us.
you have anything else to say?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Bye.
respect.
Yeah, bye.